This is going to be a look at Jahan Dotson's impact with Washington in his rookie year. Penn State product, played 4 years at Penn State, only has played in 4 games so far, so limited impact in terms of comparing him to other rookie wide receivers across the NFL, particularly guys like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, who've played pretty much every game and had a big impact across a longer span of games than just the 4 games he's played. But look, the incredible plays, the catchability that he's shown in the short time he was on the field for Washington deserves mention when you're talking about who's the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL in 2022. No, you can't say that it's Jahan Dotson at this time in terms of being the best guy by any measure. But he's fun to watch, and he's got incredible potential. And that catching ability, which he displayed at Penn State, across his junior and senior year where he had, higher level of stats and usage. Up to his junior year, he had only had 40 total catches, freshman and sophomore year. Never redshirted. 52 catches, 8 touchdowns as a junior, comes back his senior year and just blows up. Got a lot more targets, don't get me wrong. 91 catches, 12 touchdowns as a senior, and then one rushing touchdown as well. Really put together a great season, improved his draft stock. If you were to redraft right now, and I'm just going to talk about receivers, I think every team would probably stay with the guy they got. I'm talking about the first 4, 5, 6 guys, right? Garrett Wilson, Jets are happy with what they got. Olave, how can you not be happy? The Lions understood what they were getting themselves into in terms of the injury, but Jameson Williams could end up being the best guy in terms of his career. But these guys are so talented, the rookie wide receivers, if you ask me, that it's difficult to apply the tag best to any of them because they're all going to have tremendous impact. Jahan Dotson, 4 touchdowns already through only 4 games played. He didn't play in Week 9 either from the hamstring injury. He'll apparently return in Week 10 next week. Treylon Burks from the Titans and some of these other guys, who knows how those teams would draft at this point. But just talking about the teams who drafted receivers early, I think they're all happy with what they've got. I think they would stay with their guy. Certainly, I think Washington is one of them. Let's get to some of the film. 4 touchdowns, going to show you all of them if I'm able to. I'm not sure what the NFL has used in terms of play breakdowns. This is a slant, high point. It uses concept twice, basically isolating the middle of the field for him through motion and utilizing his athletic ability, his jumping ability, and ability to high point the football. Now, he's wide open in terms of this short space, but he's still got to come down with the football after contact. This is the exact same playmaking ability that he showed at Penn State. Prior to his senior year, we had seen it in spurts. Everybody's seen the one-hand catches his junior year. End zone angle, same play in Week 1 against Jacksonville. He had the basically go-ahead game-winning catch in this game. It's not this one. This one's in the second quarter. I think this one put Washington up 14-7 at that point. We'll show you the basically go-ahead or game-winning touchdown here in a moment. The same concept against Detroit a little later on in the season. He's down here in the slot. They're not going to motion this time, but they have isolated or freed up all this space in the middle of the field. A little bit more of a shake. And then the catchability. You're going to see from the end zone angle that this ball is thrown slightly behind him in terms of him being challenged by the DB. And then he's still got to gather the football as he's coming down to the ground. This seems to be a catch the type of catch that Jahan Dotson's made hundreds of times in his career as a high school, college, and now NFL guy. I know he's missed a lot of time. No, I'm not offering you that he's the best wide receiver in terms of production right now, rookies in the NFL in 2022. But this right here is what kind of sets him apart, or it is the skill that puts him in that conversation, if you ask me. Not that he's not a really good route runner, not that he's not really smart in terms of how he attacks zones. None of those things are negatives for him, but the catchability, the hands, to me, is what puts him right in the top of that group. They're going to run a fade against Dallas, I think, in Week 3. This one put Washington up 7-6 second quarter, really isolating Dotson by the use of the outside and then inside receivers breaking opposite. So what I mean is the tight end's going to run out into the flats. The outside receiver, the Z, is going to run the mesh concept with McLaurin on the backside, and it really isolates Dotson with this corner to the field side because they're switching coverage here on the switch release, and this fade is easy. For him and really an NFL receiver, this is easy. It's wide open, and the ball is actually delivered in a place it needs to be delivered in. I wonder Terry McLaurin is under contract, I think, until the end of 2025. I think there's a void year at the end of his contract. And it's some big numbers, I know, with his salary, but rightfully so. I wonder what they're going to be able to do with those two guys, Robinson as well. To me, they've got the foundation for a really dangerous group offensively, no matter who the quarterback is. I think at this point it's obvious, it's not going to be Carson Wentz long term. Hopefully Taylor Heinicke can keep making plays for them, keep them in ball games. They're 4-4. And 3 of their losses are, against pretty good teams, to be honest with you. I think they've lost to Minnesota, Dallas, and Philly, all teams that are at the top of the NFC. Here's the game-winning or go-ahead touchdown catch. I think a little less than 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter against Jacksonville, week 1. I think this one puts them up 26-22. And then they got a 2-point conversion to go up 28-22, which was the final margin. Elite play, if you ask me, against man-to-man coverage down the left sideline. And this is the type of thing that when he's on the field with Terry McLaurin, I think teams are remiss if this is what they do, no matter who the quarterback is. I'm talking independent of who the quarterback is, all right? So if you want to, it's Carson Wentz, that's why they're blitzing him. I just don't know that with the skills Jahan Dotson has shown already and how dangerous Terry McLaurin is, if teams, defenses, can do this, put him in these man situations against their number 3 corner. Who, else? You got Curtis Samuel, I know. Who else is going to command the attention that these two can command across the league? There's many teams that have that duo. But in my opinion, it's going to make, when he's there, when he's healthy, it's going to make it difficult for teams to bring this kind of pressure consistently and not open themselves up to big plays like this when you have a guy who has demonstrated already that he can make contested catches look really easy, if you ask me. I'm not sure where you would rank him compared to the other rookie wide receivers across the NFL. I'm not into really ranking players for real. I know Washington's happy with what they've got. I'm not a Washington fan, but to me, he looks like a guy that can really have an impact in man, in zone. This appears to be quarters to me. The tight end is going to release, I think, out, and then the safety's going to go with him. I think he's just reading 2 out. It's a Meg call, man, everywhere he goes for the corner up top. Safety jumps the tight end, leaves too much space for Jahan Dotson. I'm not sure which corners in the league he's not going to be able to do this against. I don't mean every time, but multiple times per game. Now, having said that, he did have trouble against the Eagles. 2 catches on 8 targets. I think only had 2 catches against Dallas, maybe 3. One of them you saw was a touchdown that put them up 7-6. Both of those games they lost convincingly. Am I saying that Washington is closer to Dallas and Philly in the division? Well, no, they're a long way off. All right, but having said that, I think they've got a piece here in Jahan Dotson that really adds to the talent level. They've got incredible hands. It's a stop route to the sideline. He's trying to sell the vertical, then putting his foot in the ground, then coming back. Ball's delivered on time, maybe slightly late, but you can see it's out. It's not late, my bad. The ball is coming out here, and he hasn't even put his foot in the ground and come back here. So this is perfect timing. Boom. Timing route against man-to-man defense. I think he has the full route tree available to him, whether it's man, whether it's zone. I'm a big fan of his, as you can tell. I was a big fan of his at Penn State. As a Ravens fan, looking back on it, if there's a redraft, and you're looking at 14 now, and you say, hey, would we like to have Jahan Dotson? Yeah. I mean, I can't lie. I hope Kyle Hamilton has a great career. I'm a big fan of Kyle Hamilton. Having said that, Jahan Dotson is showing you right now that he can make plays against pretty much any corner that he's gone up against so far. Let me know what you think of his ability, what you think of how Washington's used him, how he can impact their team, their roster. Who knows where they're going to go quarterback-wise. They're 4-4 right now. I don't think they have, the most incredibly difficult schedule the rest of the way. I think it's possible that if they get this guy back, Terry McLaurin is there, and they get more consistent play from Taylor Heinicke because, let's be honest, they barely beat the Colts last week, and it required a couple of miraculous plays, a great 4th down conversion by Heinicke, and then the amazing throw to McLaurin down the left sideline where he beat Stephon Gilmore. I think Jahan Dotson coming back really opens things up for their offense. I'm a big fan of his and just wanting to see how he progresses, how he develops. how Washington can continue to use him and get him the ball more. Because let's be honest, he had 12 catches and 22 targets through 4 games. Small sample size, but that catch percentage is lower than we would like it to be. I think if there's a redraft, he's picked right about the same spot, 16. If there's an overall redraft, not just receiver redraft, he's picked around the same spot. But there's a lot of guys that are going to be picked ahead of him that were picked later. All right? Guys who have exploded from 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and even 5th round, if you look at the guys like Tariq Woolen. I think Washington, if you're a fan of Washington, you should be happy and excited with what you got there. I know I would be if he was on my team. Let me know what you think of my breakdown of some of these plays, what you think of the overall concept that we're doing here in terms of who's the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL through 9 weeks.